the United States Senate, without coming up with any type of bailout for the American people, has recessed for the Labor Day. They won't be back until after Labor Day, after the 1st of September, when so many families are going to already have been evicted, or they will be in the process of being evicted because they don't have any way to pay their rent in September. These are the things that actually matter. And I believe that these are the things that we can actually change and affect right now, because the Senate clearly doesn't believe that the American people can hold them accountable. Last night, General Strike, hashtag General Strike, was trending on Twitter, and it is a statement that we can actually make something happen here. These politicians cannot be comfortable enough to abandon the American people in our darkest hour, while in the meantime, they're home chilling. They're getting paid. They're living the lavish life of an American politician when the American people who actually paid their salaries are struggling. 40 million Americans are jobless. 5.4 million Americans lost their health care insurance amongst millions of others who never had it to begin with. You got 167,000 dead already, according to the New York Times last night, that it's over 200,000 people who are already dead. You have 1/3 of Americans who couldn't pay their rent, and the Senate wants to go on recess? That's a problem. The real problem is that they feel like they cannot be held accountable by the American people. They feel like there's a barrier. There is a gap between the reality of the average American and the politicians who are in Washington, D.C., living the lavish life on our dime. This is what's going on around us. And Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, I don't care, and Donald Trump included, all of them, every single politician involved in this is accountable to the fact that they have not come up with a solution for the American people. And we're out here left to struggle on our own. I mentioned it in the last segment. This is absolutely why you're seeing so many people consider suicide. 1 in 4 Americans, young adult Americans, have considered suicide in the last few months. I want to read some of the data to you. 10.7% of respondents overall reported considering suicide in the previous 30 days. This is according to Politico. 25.5% of those between the age of 18 to 24 reported considering suicide in the last 30 days. Almost 31% of self-reported unpaid caregivers have considered committing suicide. 22% of essential workers said they also have harbored such thoughts. States and the federal government have some data showing an increase in drug overdose death in the first few months of the year. 40% of those surveyed saying they experience a mental or behavioral health condition connected to the COVID-19 emergency. And our Senate is taking their elitist asses home. This is unacceptable. And the fact that we again, I don't want to belabor the point from the first segment, but the fact that we put so much energy into fighting each other over who we're going to vote for or who we're not going to vote for doesn't change the dial at all. It doesn't change the dial at all. What changes the dial is putting pressure on these politicians, not just electoral pressure and pressure at the voting booth, because I don't think we're going to make it to the voting booth. We're not going to make it to November with 40 million evictions on the line. You think that there's going to be nothing but life as usual between now and November? I mean, let alone January for an inauguration, and then a month on top of that to get some new policy. Voting isn't going to fix this. I know politicians are our problem, but voting is not going to fix the fact that they don't give a shit about us, that they are going home and they're relaxing while the American people are contemplating suicide. Voting will not fix it because there's too much time between now and the time we have to vote, and people need solutions right now. People need solutions right now, and the only way that I know we can get some solutions is if we make some politicians uncomfortable. They should not be able to go in public without the people letting them know that we understand how they have failed us. They have abdicated their responsibility to provide for the American people in the time of crisis, and they need to be held accountable for it. Period. There's no other way around this. Anybody who's telling you to just vote them out, there's not enough time between now, or rather, let me repeat that. There is too much time between now and November. Do you know how many people will be homeless by then? Do you know how many families will be homeless by then? How many people who are contemplating suicide who will go ahead and commit suicide by then? We cannot wait until November to fix this problem.